Alors, comme toute bonne chose doit se faire, on va commencer avec le commencement. Alors, je vais amorcer la lecture du prologue Dans le grand cercle du monde. Je l'ai lu en anglais, c'est pour ça qu'il a fallu que je vérifie le titre en français. Avant l'arrivée des corbeaux, vos prêtres, nous avions la magie. Avant la construction de vos grands villages que vous avez si grossièrement sculptés sur les rivages de la mer intérieure de notre monde, en leur donnant des noms arrachés à nos langues, Chicago, Toronto, Milwaukee, Ottawa. Nous avions aussi nos grands villages sur ces rivages-là. Et nous comprenions notre magie. Nous savions ce que l'Orenda impliquait. Et qui accuser quand tout cela disparaît? Il est tentant de désigner un coupable, même si l'on ne devrait jamais évaluer ainsi la perte. Alors qu'il est responsable de ce dont nous sommes aujourd'hui les témoins, nos enfants qui se taillent eux-mêmes en pièces, qui s'étranglent dans les coins sombres de leur foyer ou qui ingurgitent votre boisson puante jusqu'à ce que leur corps les lâche. Mais cela, c'est le futur. Ce conte est en apparence l'histoire de notre passé. Les corbeaux ont volé au-dessus de la grande eau de leur ancien monde pour venir se percher, fatigués et apeurés sur les branches du nôtre. Et ils ont constaté que nous avions l'Orenda. Nous croyions, oh oui, nous croyions. C'est pourquoi au début, ils nous ont pris pour un peu plus que des animaux. Nous vivions dans un monde sensible qui les effrayait. Nous chassions des bêtes qui n'existaient que dans leurs cauchemars. Et nous nous nourrissions du mystère qu'on avait appris aux corbeaux à craindre. Nous respirions ce qu'ils craignaient, et ainsi qu'ils sont enclins à le faire, ils observaient avec attention. Et quand ils croissaient pour signifier que notre magie était impure, nous rions, nous nous offensions un peu, nous en tuions même quelques-uns, puis nous prenions leurs plumes pour en orner nos cheveux. Et la vie continuait. Mais ce mot impur, un mot pareil à une maladie, pareil à sa propre magie, il commença à se répandre. Une infime minorité d'entre nous le vit venir. Et cette histoire est peut-être l'histoire de cette minorité.
Miigwech, merci. Thank you for having me here. Bonjour. Bonjour, Josephine. I'm going to read a little section from the point of view of the French Jesuit Christophe. It's called Feast of the Dead. I share this with you, my dear superior, and with any other readers my journals might find back in France, the most splendid thing I've yet to see in this heathen land. It is called the Feast of the Dead, and from what I'm told, it happens every 12 years or so, when the village must pick up and move to a new location once the fields around it have become exhausted. While the moving of a community of 2,000 or more souls is nothing short of a feat to witness, it's the community ceremony, its reverence for its dead, that truly astounds me. As I have seen with my own eyes, it unfolds over the course of 10 days, and includes not just the one large village of the Tignawantan, the people of the Bear, who are my hosts, but also the smaller villages that are of their nation. All of these communities descend upon the respective cemeteries and unearth their deceased from the tombs in which they lie. Each family sees to its dead with such bereavement and care, their tears falling like raindrops, that one would assume the corpse had lately passed on. While this is sometimes the case, more often it is not, and the bodies are in various stages of decomposition. Some are simply bones, others have only a type of parchment over their bones, and other bodies appear as if they've been dried and smoked, showing little sign of putrefaction. Still others, the recently departed, crawl with worms. Once the bodies have been unearthed, they are put on display so all the family members might grieve anew, and it's this that strikes me as especially powerful, this willingness of the sauvage to gaze down upon what they each one day will become. There's something in this particular practice that can teach us Christians a powerful lesson, that we may see more vividly our own wretched mortal state, that it's not this world we should cherish, but the promise of the next. Yet this is only the beginning of the ceremony. Once all of the families have had sufficient time to see and to mourn over the bodies of their loved ones again, they then cover them with magnificent beaver robes. And when this stage of the mourning comes to a close, the families once again uncover the bodies and set to work stripping off the flesh and skin that might still be left, taking special care to burn this in the fire, along with any old furs and mats used in the original burial. Those bodies that have not yet putrefied enough are covered by a robe and left on a bark mat. Now, it may seem barbaric and ghastly to hear of this practice of picking bones clean, but I must tell you, dear Superior, that I have never witnessed such absolute and pure love for a relative who has passed. One young mother cried so much as she cradled and cleaned her dead baby that her tears bathed the infant's bones. None showed any sign of repugnance at all as they removed the flesh from their relatives, and it is in this duty to the dead that all Christians might learn another valuable lesson. After undergoing such an obligation, what act of charity might seem remotely comparable? To look after the sick in hospital, to bow to and clean the feet of a sick man covered in sores, these would seem simple indeed. After 2 or 3 days of mourning in their home, the families placed the now clean bones of the dead into beautiful bags sewn of beaver fur and decorated with beads. Hoisting the bones onto their backs, the families place yet another beautiful robe onto their packages and leave their longhouses to begin the trek as one great community from their old village to the new one. Families of other smaller communities meeting with them along the way in a display of timing that is startling. Like sparrows descending onto a mighty oak for an evening's rest, thousands of these sauvages congregate in and around the new village, and residents and visitors alike enter their own longhouses or the longhouses of their hosts, where each family makes a feast to its dead. I have learned from one captain of the Confederation that these Huron believe a body has 2 souls, or okies. One soul is more attached to the body and will stay with it in the cemetery, watching over it for eternity, unless someone bears it again as a child. When I asked the captain why he thought such a thing, he pointed out to me, as proof of this soul transferring from one body to another, the amazing resemblance some people have to a deceased person. Oh, these poor and simple humans. According to him, the second Okie leaves the body and makes a harrowing journey to a village of souls that is very similar to those of the living. Traveling along the southern shore of what the Huron call the Sweetwater Sea, they must pass by a cliff painted with ancient animals, some human in form, others part man, part beast, and still others frightening sea creatures. Beyond this, a malevolent spirit called Piercehead draws out the brains of the departed, who then must cross over a river on an unsteady tree trunk, guarded by a dog that will leap at them and frighten many off the log and into the wicked current below. God, give me the courage and resolve to enlighten those who walk in darkness. But back to the ceremony at hand, dear Superior. Once all have arrived at the new village and have mourned for 3 days, the people carry the bags of bones or spirit bags to the largest cabins of their clans and put them on display, along with gifts for the dead that include beaded necklaces and kettles and robes. Another feast is held in each of these longhouses, and the songs of the deceased are sung as family members mingle and mourn. The guests are allowed to help themselves to any food they desire and even to take some home with them, which is typically forbidden. As they finally leave, they sing out as loud as they can, "Hai, hai," in order to appease and to comfort their dead relations in the spirit bags. It is truly something to hear, as frightening as wolves calling out to one another in the moonlight. As the next couple of days pass, the mood changes to one of excitement as people of the different communities play games for prizes. With my own eyes, I've seen women shooting their bows at distant targets every bit as talented as any of the men as they try to win quillwork belts or necklaces or strings of beads. The young men battle one another in ferocious scrums to keep hold of a baton, while others throw spears to compete for axes and knives and beaver robes. These people are truly physical, as sleek and fit as any race I've ever encountered. But then the mood changes to solemnity again. On the preordained day, families go to where their dead are displayed and once more unwrap them to say one last goodbye. The longhouse is smelling a little stronger than musk. Tears flow anew, and it is startling to watch as women comb the hair of freshly dead relatives and mothers place beaded bracelets on the bones of their children and grown warriors cradle what is left of their wives. And then as one, each family stands, forms a line, and carries the remains of their loved ones to the pit that has been dug outside the palisades. Let me describe this burial place. It is about the size of the inner courtyard at Versailles, and in the middle of it, a pit has been dug at least 2 fathoms deep by 15 fathoms wide. Around the circumference of the pit is an intricate and sturdy scaffold, at least 2 fathoms high, with cross poles where the Huron, according to plan, will soon hang their bundles of souls. The bodies that remain whole, covered by their beaver robes, surround the burial pit underneath the scaffold, stretched out on their bark mats and fastened to stakes at about 1 fathom, or the height of a man. I'm told that they will go in first. But before the spirit bags are hung on the scaffold, the sauvages, according to clan and village, lay their parcels of souls upon the ground, essentially once again putting them on display for curious visitors to stroll by and admire as if they are perusing wares at a village fair. For a distance of some 3,000 feet, these bags are laid out, poles planted beside them, so that presents brought for the living may also go on display. All manner of beaver robes and coal-work belts and beaded necklaces and skinning knives and amulets are strung on these poles for everyone to see. I believe that the families and clans compete with one another to try and prove who has the most wealth. The spirit bags and gifts remain on display for several hours as several thousand people have descended upon the new village to partake of the proceedings. This is when the Feast of the Dead truly begins. The captain of each clan gives the signal, and his people climb the scaffold at good speed and tie their bundles of souls to the cross pieces. Once all the bags have been hung, the captains, now that afternoon has arrived, announce and give away the presents, each made in the name of the dead, to different living friends and relations. I witnessed the sauvages approach to receive their gift, some crying, others smiling, and still others with moods upon their faces impossible to read. Once all the presents have been handed out, the most extraordinary sight occurs when the sauvages line the entire pit with the finest beaver robes, so that the robes extend out of the pit a few feet from its edge. Hundreds and hundreds of beaver furs line the ossuary in a stunning display of abundance. In European terms, the robes alone would be worth a king's small ransom, and this doesn't take into account all the furs used to bundle the corpses that will soon end up in the pit. As evening has arrived, designated individuals take the whole bodies that hang below the scaffold to the bottom of the pit and arrange them in an orderly fashion, the din of the people all around growing. In the center of it all, 3 kettles have been placed, apparently to feed the dead in the other world. Once all the whole bodies have been thus carefully placed and arranged, the people build many fires to cook their food and pass the rest of the night here. At dawn the next morning, they awake to the louder murmurings of the Huron as the men of importance return to the top of the scaffold and begin to empty the bags of bones down to others waiting in the pit. As the bones begin to fill the pit, the men below, using poles, continue to carefully mingle them in no order that I can understand. This is when the people begin to sing in such a lugubrious tone that one truly understands what utter despair is. Hundreds and even thousands of voices rising up so that one can't help but weep for the living whose souls certainly head for damnation. It is a sound the likes of which I have never heard before and don't expect to again, one that filled my whole body with a great vibration of sadness. There are so many bones that soon the pit is nearly filled, leaving only a few feet of space. And once the last bone has been placed, the beaver robes that are still extend out of the pit are folded back over, and then mats and poles and eventually part of the scaffold, apparently to prevent animals from getting to the remains. After that, the excess dirt is mounded on, and women carrying dishes of corn sprinkle it onto the mound, doing so for a number of days following. The rest of the day is passed in gift-giving, and even I was offered 10 beaver robes by an important captain. I turned this down, explaining that the only gift I desire is that he and his people begin to believe in him, the great voice, the one who makes all things.
Miigwech, Joseph.